perfect family. How's everybody today? John Paul and I, like always, bringing you the best content in the wrestling community. Hope all of you are doing great. And, welcome to the new year, 2020. This time, John Paul and I are just going to have a conversation. We just want to talk about the best of this whole decade. You know, a new decade is beginning, 2020. We don't know what's going to bring us. We hope it's going to bring us good things, good family things, a few goals personal for Jean Paul and myself. Hopefully the show grows and gets to heights that they've never seen before.
Hmm.
And Jean Paul and I are just going to talk about 2010 all the way to 2019. That is the year that is about to end. And, Jean Paul, how you doing?
Good, good. Like you said, I'm ready to talk about. There's so much, great wrestling that happened in the decade. Not just from WWE, but like all over, and just ready to dive right in.
Exactly. Like this whole decade has been so groundbreaking for the whole wrestling world
Hmm.
because WWE is not the only option anymore. We have so
Yeah,
many new companies. We have Ring of Honor, we have Impact, we have New Japan, we have AEW, we have for the ones that love the lucha libre style, we have AAA and
yeah.
all of that.
Lucha Underground.
Lucha Underground was there,
Yeah,
so we're gonna talk about all of that,
yeah.
Jean Paul.
And like you
So
said, starting in 2010, how about like the Undertaker, Shawn Michaels?
yeah, that's the first
You
thing
know what
that
I
we're
mean?
gonna
That's
talk
like,
about. That was WrestleMania 26. Pretty good Mania. It was just like based on like the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels retirement match. Undertaker, that was the stipulation that he had because Shawn Michaels, the storyline was pretty much based off, I came this close to beat you. I
hmm
know that I have what it takes to beat you and break the streak, but I need another shot at you. And they play the whole storyline throughout a whole year.
yeah. I
So
mean,
that
that's
was
like that build was so great. And what pay per view was that where he calls Undertaker the
that was
title?
Elimination Chamber.
Yeah,
Elimination Chamber 2010, and that's when Jericho won the championship, the World Heavyweight Championship, and Shawn Michaels comes up from inside the cage, and
yeah.
that's
That's
switching
yeah.
music, and then he beats. He helps Jericho winning the championship, and that's why Undertaker's like, finally, you caught my attention. What do you want? And he's like, I want another shot at the streak. And he's like, okay, you won, but your soul is not going to be enough this time. I want your career on the line. So if I beat you, there will no longer be Shawn Michaels. And you can see Shawn Michaels saying, you're on, because if
Yeah.
I cannot beat you, I don't have a career. So
So I mean,
Jean
like,
Paul,
yeah, just the promos. The promo alone, we like you wanted to see it, and people say like, oh, the match the year before was better, and it's like, whether it was better or it wasn't, it's just opinion. But just like this match was still great, and it was, and what should have been, if don't count Saudi Arabia or any of that other bullshit, should have been the end of Shawn Michaels' career, and it told a great story. The streak was still alive, which was what we all wanted. Unfortunately, more than Shawn Michaels' career, I think we wanted the
yeah,
streak to remain alive. I know, I did, you did, and it's like that's the thing, and it just told the great story.
oh yeah. I mean, the match was not, didn't even come as close as like the first match did, but the
Oh yeah,
story
that first
alone.
match, yeah, just the near falls and all like just the facial expressions, the emotion, and just those two guys, the tail end of their career. That first match at like Mania 25 was so much better, but.
It's so much better, but I mean the story that they told was really good, and I really appreciate the fact that like when Shawn Michaels kicked out of the tombstone, and then he slaps the Undertaker, and the Undertaker goes with all the he gets so upset, and he's like, okay, puts in the tombstone again, 1, 2, 3.
Mhm.
In this second match, Undertaker had more dominance over Shawn Michaels, and
Yeah.
that causes him his career. And like you said, we're not even counting Crown Jewel because that was outside of the United States, so it doesn't count.
Yep.
But
Shawn Michaels also didn't have hair, so that doesn't count.
that doesn't count because there's so many people. You guys won't believe how many people hate to see Shawn Michaels without the hair.
Oh, to me, to me, it is what it is.
It
You know
doesn't.
what I
It
mean?
bothers. It bothers so much, so many people that is unbelievable. I just don't
Yeah.
understand why it bothers so much. Why it's such a big deal for so many
It's
people.
because
For
Triple
me, I'm
H
okay.
to me Triple H bothered me more. I
I
don't
mean,
I mean the bald Triple H is badass. I got used to it, but I'm like, man, I like Triple H with the long hair and
well, you
I
like
thought that was
like
badass.
2000s Triple H,
Yeah,
like
when he was ripping off
badass.
Shane was ripping off Shane Douglas.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a comment that he brought to my attention because I didn't even know it. And he said, you know what, like, look at Shane Douglas is looking ECW, and this is this, and I'm like,
And also another thing I thought today while watching ECW is like Shane Douglas, how he had Francine with all the time. That was like the same thing when Stephanie was with Triple H and her tits are
yeah.
hanging out and all this. That's the same thing Francine was.
So pretty much it's a ripoff.
Yeah.
Triple H is a ripoff from Shane Douglas. So
Uh,
that's how we were gonna conclude the show, and that's the whole decade
yep.
of.
The
No, 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 none of that. I feel that like this rivalry, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, is so iconic
oh my
and
god, yeah.
elevated their
Yeah,
careers to
people
points.
still talk about it today.
And to the fact that's a testament right
Yeah,
there.
because when Sean was there was these rumors they were coming back and like I think it was last year the Survivor Series I think it
Mm,
was. You
yeah,
know, people well not 2018 Survivor Series. People wanted the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. They wanted that to be and have that match then take place at WrestleMania. Start building it and booking it, coming off from Crown Jewel and all that other bullshit. But they never pulled the trigger, and that's we wanted to see that match. How many years later?
oh yeah, I mean,
That's
it's
what I mean.
because of
People,
how good it
yeah,
was. How good
exactly.
like those two have so much history because of the Hell in a Cell, the first one, the Bad Blood. They have the history and the 2007 Royal Rumble when they're the final two and they put a great show and the Undertaker ends up winning the Royal Rumble. But both of them, it reminds us of the 90s. It was such a a flashback. They were so good that they're still at their prime. They could deliver this type of matches. So the decade started like really good with that kind of match. Now WrestleMania wasn't even bad. It was John Cena against Batista. It had Jericho against Edge. It was a good Mania. And then they took us like 2 more years. Well, we had the trilogy with, well, not trilogy, two matches with The Rock and John Cena. That people actually, did you enjoy that rivalry? Was it
No,
good?
well, I mean, is when you say first time ever, it's like okay, legit, and it's like to me, both guys aren't super legit in the ring. Like they need somebody who's like maybe not a Bret Hart level, but they need somebody who's like real legit to carry them. Neither of them are awful. They're not like Braun Strowman level bad, but if they're in there with someone who's more legit, more technical, the match will be better. And you have the two of those guys in there, and it's like they kind of really, it's like who's going to take the lead, who's going to take the charge. The match was more just the promo, the story, the booking, and then you do it one time, and it's like okay, cool, it was all right, it is what it is, whatever. And then it's like oh, you're going to do the second time, and it's like then that killed it. And also, what
Yeah.
was the when was that the second time around when The Rock then he beat CM Punk? Or was
Yeah.
that the first? Yeah, and then that was such bullshit.
The second time it was like, the first time is 2012, WrestleMania 28 in Miami, that The Rock comes back. They set up the main event in 2011, actually. A whole year for them to go to the main event of WrestleMania in the next year, of course. And the match itself was, like you said, decent at best. The Rock ends up getting the win, and then they carry the same feud for 2013.
Mm.
And 2013 is when The Rock goes against Cena again for the WWE Championship. And Cena beats The Rock. And that was The Rock's exit for the WWE ring, but like that included The Rock beating CM Punk in the Royal Rumble and also in the Elimination Chamber.
Yep, that's what I mean. And it's like that was just like it was just like what was the point? Like The Rock, he was already a made man. That it didn't need like this feud with The Rock and Cena. It didn't need it didn't need the belt, but it was an iconic moment, for what it was. But
Oh
you know,
yeah, yeah. And this takes us to
And
something
and,
that,
and I'm gonna say Cena, and despite people shit on Cena, just he was definitely up there for superstar of the decade, just for for everything he did in WWE. He was like Roman Reigns, he was pushed intolerably, and people hated him more than they liked him, but he was a big money draw. Everybody knew who John Cena was.
no, I will agree with you.
So
John Cena probably he has a big contendership when it comes to superstar of the decade,
mm,
just because of how much work he did all these years. Even when he came back part time, he had like a really good showing with matches with AJ Styles, The Rock,
the
Roman
match with
Reigns.
Roman Reigns, yep, that was a legit match.
That was a legit match and that was a legit feud. The
Mm,
promo war between the two of them was really nice. And
mm,
also, like, they had the matches with Bray Wyatt, that was good. The
yeah.
whole thing with Brock Lesnar, that was also really good.
Yeah,
When
and like you
he
said,
all
Brock. Yeah, And continue your thought.
Oh no, I was just saying like the Suplex City was born also there because of all the. I think he did 18 German suplexes and then he beat
Oh, on
John
Cena,
Cena in
yeah,
SummerSlam 2014. So
that
that
was
was
his. Well, that was his return, wasn't it?
like Brock Lesnar's like main first like title match that he
Oh,
had.
that wasn't his. When did he debut though? When he came back?
Oh no, he debuted in 20. It was 2012
Oh,
Extreme
okay. Oh,
2012
okay,
Extreme
okay.
Rules. That's when like they went against Cena in like Extreme Rules match, and actually Cena picked up the win, although being
Oh, okay,
destroyed
okay.
whole match by Brock Lesnar. But you see just Cena hulking up like usual, all the moves, and then he does the attitude adjustment on Brock Lesnar onto the stair, one of the
Yeah.
metal steel stairs, and that's how like he won. He picked up the win. So John Cena had a really good showing, but I think Cena looked a lot better in a rivalry that you told me that you enjoy, and we're gonna talk about it because that was like probably the one of the last few times that wrestling was all over the world. That's hot. And
Oh,
WWE was
yeah.
the hottest is CM Punk, John Cena, Money in the Bank 2011.
hmm That's what I mean. Like that's another one because the match it was just so legit because CM Punk's one of those guys who he can carry John Cena. He can take John Cena from being a 6 at best, 6 out of 10, to an 8 out of 10, a 9 out. Like he can bring that out of him because it's like he can sell for him. He can make John Cena better than he is, and the story was so legit. And it was one of those where it wasn't like, oh, this is just a wrestling TV show. It is what it is. No, this was blurring the lines of reality, like a shoot and a work. So we were all invested in, you know what I mean? It's like, what was he going to do? Is he going to run away with the belt? What's this, the pipe bomb? Like everything. It
Oh
was just
yeah,
so legit.
oh yeah, like it was so good because the storyline, the pie bomb, this is what started it. And then, of course, I'm going to be leaving, and my contract expires in a month, and I'm going to be leaving with the World Heavyweight Championship with me, with the W
hmm
Championship. The pay per view is going to be contested in my hometown, Chicago. What else do you want? He came out, best in the world shirt. Everybody's just absolutely loving when he came out. Seeing that they're booing the hell out of him in the building. It was so good. And the ending, they gave us the ending that we all wanted it. Why?
hmm
Because, of course, McMahon comes out. He's trying to help John Cena. Cena's like, get the hell out of here. Let me do this by myself. GTS and done. And of course, CM Punk leaves the arena and
Yeah,
blows the
what a
kiss to
beautiful. Well,
McMahon.
that's such a beautiful shot.
And that's what I mean. Like, and that's when CM Punk was absolutely the hottest
But
professional
that's
wrestler in the world.
that's when they were still about creating moments.
Yes.
WWE, they claim that they want to create moments, but Roman Reigns isn't a moment that we want to see created anymore. You know what I
No.
mean? So it's like they want to keep creating moments. So like that's the things you need to do. You need to give us what we want. And
Exactly.
another thing we're giving us what they want, WrestleMania 30. Daniel
Or
Bryan,
WrestleMania 30. See, yeah, we
all
go from
that whole the whole build, everything.
the summer of Punk. That was legit. Good matches. And then we see the introduction of Daniel Bryan in that.
hmm
And then we see pieces of what we were supposed to, Daniel Bryan will go to become. And like you said, we had the thing with The Rock, thing with Cena, and then we don't really have a contender for John Cena, and then Daniel Bryan comes up. SummerSlam 2013, he becomes the WWE champion, beating John Cena, but then you see Triple H and Randy Orton, because Randy Orton cashed the money in the bank with the help of Triple H, and then you see the whole storyline with Daniel Bryan being like, hey, you're like a B plus player, you're not championship material. You'll never become the champion again. That was a fluke. You don't have what it takes to run this, to be the top guy in this company. And then finally, you see the yes movement going in full fledged.
hmm
Everybody's loving it. You see how Bryan had to go throughout the whole. You will see the 4 or 5 months of 2013. You see how he was battling Orton for the championship, fails, fails, fails. Even Shawn Michaels was the referee at Hell in a Cell. And
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels did a super kick on Daniel Bryan to help Randy Orton keep the championship. So
Instead of like
then,
everybody was against him, and then it's like he doesn't win the Rumble, and it was like everybody shit on this, and it's like, what are you doing? Like you're not giving us what they want, and you think, man, they're really gonna screw him over. And then they did probably the most legit thing, The only like he beats Triple H to get
yeah,
inserted at WrestleMania to get inserted into the main event, and then he wins the main event. It's
Yeah,
like the only person whose ass he didn't kick from Evolution was Ric Flair that night.
that night, yeah, yeah.
Let him just super yes kick Ric Flair's head off. You know what I'm like? That's it was just such a great moment. Like you said, the yes movement and like to get a little more like real life emotional. The Connor score thing that Connor he was right there in the crowd, share that moment with Day. Like that's what I mean. It was just such an emotional, like legit, moment. And then just
And that
everything. Daniel Bryan. Oh, go ahead.
no, and like you said, like this mania itself had so many good things.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Triple H by fighting Daniel Bryan, the main event. John Cena going against Bray Wyatt. That was really cool. Bray Wyatt should have won, but of course they
Yep.
had to give it to Cena. You remember Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold in the same place, same building. Cheering with the Steve Weisers and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. Then you get the Shield, the first showing of the Shield on a really main pay per view is right there WrestleMania because they went against Billy Gunn, the Road Dogg, and Kane.
What a bullshit. Yeah,
That
it
was a
was
little bullshit, but
it
you
was
see the Shield,
bullshit.
you see how like at that time you wouldn't think that 6 years from that time we will be talking about Seth Rollins, Roman
Yeah.
Reigns, John Moxley, Dean Ambrose in such high regard right now. If it wasn't for those moments back
Oh
then.
yeah, no, and that it was that all that was to just be like, hey, look at these guys. They just kicked the shit out of these three legends.
And exactly. And we get one of the most iconic moments in professional wrestling history, a moment that we all hate, a moment that scarred me for life, and that's the Undertaker streak being broken by the Beast incarnate Brock Lesnar. So how did you feel when that happened?
I mean, they're like how pretty much everyone felt. You didn't want to see it, and it's like to me, if the streak was broken, Undertaker should have been broken. Like he should have just retired. And to me, that wasn't the match to do it. I don't know what would have the only match really to do it would have been like the end of an era.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's like,
what I
do people really want to see Triple H put himself over the Undertaker? Like
no,
like we've seen that. Do we need to see it at WrestleMania? Like, it's one of those
no.
things where,
To
yeah,
me,
no.
like the streak
This,
should have never been broken.
yeah, I mean, he could have easily wrestled the streak. He could have got to like, I mean, I don't know, that would have been long, but like 30-0 or something, and then done, or
Yeah,
25-0,
even
done.
when it was 20, after the end of an era, it should have been
Yeah,
it's done. I'm
yep.
never going to fight again. But of course, he had to agree with CM Punk, and that was 21. And then this thing happened,
Hmm.
and a little bit of my childhood, a little bit of me died when Brock Lesnar pinned the Undertaker. I know the same thing happened for you, but see, that Mania had all these elements in one show, so
Oh my
that's
God,
what
yeah.
made that
It
Mania
was definitely one
probably
of the last great WrestleManias.
yeah probably one of the best Manias of this whole decade. Or even not the best mania of this decade. Because tell
Hmm.
me another mania. Now that we're talking about this, that was such good.
That's what I mean. Like, was there like because 31, like they all just have matches that like, oh, okay, this match was cool, this match was legit. But it's like overall the show sucked, or like the main event was bad, or it's like, oh yeah, like I mean Seth Rollins coming out cashing in, that was legit against
Yeah,
Roman and Brock. That was a legit moment. But it's like, then Roman Reigns, oh main eventing, and it's like, oh okay, like we see the agenda, we see the storylines, the feuds, like the Hardys returning was legit,
that was really good.
but
I remember
yeah,
that we watched that moment, and that was really cool. For example, you remember Sting against Triple H? That
yeah,
was a
but
good.
but Sting lost, so it's like this is fucking stupid.
It was a good moment that ended up being stupid.
It was awesome. You had all the NWO come out, and then Evolution or
Degeneration
yeah,
X.
DX came out. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just such a like that was cool. But like I said, it should have been Sting should have got the win.
Yeah, and then see, like they gave us little good moments, but at the end, everything turned out being stupid again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for example, like you tell me WrestleMania 33 also with like Undertaker and Roman Reigns. We didn't care for that. The Hardys return, that was really good. Tell me a little bit about New Japan. New Japan gave a lot of good stuff. For example,
Oh
like
yeah, like
I didn't
all
know
the Wrestle Kingdoms and
Wrestle Kingdom. For example, AJ Styles against Shinsuke Nakamura. That was really good.
yeah, everything with the Bullet Club. Prince Devitt, Finn Balor. All that stuff, and also that's another thing too. Just to not to like breeze over that, but everything the birth of NXT.
The birth
You
of
know,
NXT.
you know, or at least when NXT is real hot and all that going forward, just everything with NXT, you know, is just legit. Well, actually, I don't think they really started getting big until like 2011, 2012,
Well,
13,
NXT, yeah,
maybe.
I think that like 2012 is when they really
Because they
picked
were
up a
around
little
for
bit.
they were around for a while when they were like the FCW
Yeah,
and
they
all
were
that
like
stuff. But
until
yeah,
they became NXT, and then the first women's
yeah,
champion from NXT was Paige, and then the
mm-hmm,
first was Seth Rollins. They
mm-hmm.
had, and then we've seen sea of people that they were groomed on NXT. You know, we
That's
got to
yeah. So
see
NXT, yeah, like NXT is one of those things too. Like that could probably be the best thing to come, you know, out of this decade for
out of this
wrestling.
decade. You will say NXT.
I would
I
say
agree
NXT, yeah, because
because
it's
we
like
got to see the Wyatts came out of there, Big E.
well, like let's be honest, you know, we don't have unlimited time to just watch every single wrestling promotion on the planet. I wouldn't know guys like Aleister Black or the War Raiders or Ricochet, you know, Prince Puma, you know, all these guys and their indie names. I didn't know who these guys were. They come to NXT, now I know who they are.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so without NXT, we wouldn't know who these guys were.
Oh yeah, NXT has given us so many newer guys, and
Hmm.
also like great guys. For example, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Cesaro, Finn Balor, Andrade Cien Almas, Drew
Yeah.
McIntyre,
Yeah,
Bobby Roode.
everybody who we mentioned in our 2019 video, you know, Adam Cole, Gargano, Champa,
Yeah,
Dijakovic, Keith Lee, all that whole entire women's division is so legit. Kyrie Sane, Asuka. Well,
even
I
the
mean,
whole horsewomen. The
yeah,
whole
all the
horsewomen
horsewomen.
came from NXT. So
Yep.
NXT probably, if you want to tell me what's the best thing that happened this whole decade, I want to say agree with you and amplify it and say, hey, NXT was the best thing of this whole decade. The
Yeah,
birth
exactly.
and the establishment of NXT as a powerful force, and this actually became into a reality on the Survivor Series 2019 because they were the dominant brand, and
Mhm.
now the fact that like they are going toe to toe with AEW, not even a main roster show can do that.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. You'd think like from 2010 to the end of 2019, you went from a developmental territory essentially, like a developmental show to get guys ready to now being the best, in arguably the best wrestling show, you know,
In the
broadcasted
world, in the
broadcasted in the world, or like the United States, or like you said, or the world.
in the
So it's
world, I
like,
will say that because, for
so
example,
imagine that's in 10 years. Imagine what Rope Break will do in 10 years.
I hope that Pro Break is the best show in the wrestling community of all the world, and
Oh, it
that's our
will be.
mission, and that's what we're going to do because that's how we work hard for all of you guys. We appreciate all the stuff that you do for us, all the support. Please keep commenting on the videos. Please giving us everything, and let's talk about a little bit, Jean Paul. Like I said, well, let's go back to New Japan. When
Oh my god, yeah,
if
and
you ask
yeah.
me 2010, I did not know New Japan whatsoever. I did not know who, and didn't even know there was a promotion in Japan. I mean, I knew there was wrestling over there, but I didn't know any
Yeah,
type
you
of the
didn't know. Yeah,
product.
you didn't know the names. Yeah, you didn't
I
know.
did
Yeah.
not know anybody. But then I'm starting to hear the likes of AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura fighting over there, great matches, and I'm like, oh, this is something
Hmm.
different.
And
They got
that's a
different rules, pacing,
and
and all of that.
yeah, and to go off what you said, that's another thing too with NXT. Guys like Shinsuke Nakamura come over. You know, or not I always
Kushida,
forget. Yeah, or well, not Kushida. Hideo Itami,
and then
Kenta
Kenta.
comes over. Finn Balor, all these guys, because NXT was never afraid to admit that they came from New Japan or they came from here. And when AJ Styles came to WWE, he was another one. They referenced New Japan, so it was like that made us, the fans who are only familiar with American wrestling and the American product. Then now we go out and we Google, we look up New Japan. So like that's another thing that NXT gave us. NXT inspired us to like look into New Japan.
Oh yeah, and then for example, after that, we get to see these matches, and then we see the rebirth because of guys that like were unsatisfied in the WWE, like Cody Rhodes, go
Hmm.
over there, and then we get to see like the factions being made. Cody Rhodes, then we get to see the Young Bucks. We get to meet a guy that like probably according to many people, and I will say you and I think alike, the best wrestler of this whole decade, Kenny Omega.
Oh yeah, that's everything Kenny Omega did, and he's another one too. Who like when you think of New Japan, or before he left and went to AEW, you thought of Kenny Omega. You didn't even think of anyone who was Japanese.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
New
thought of Kenny
Japan
Omega,
became so hot because of Kenny Omega. The fight
and
with
that
Okada.
yeah, and they knew it. Like you said, those matches they had, Okada was definitely their guy, but they knew Kenny Omega was hot, and Kenny Omega was the guy who they needed to be their champion, and he had a legit reign, and all his matches were legit, and
Oh
New
yeah,
Japan, like you said, they wrestle a rougher style. They're a lot stronger, stiffer, harder. Excuse me, harder hitting, but they didn't pull any punches, and they're wrestling. Their schedule is almost as strenuous as the WWE. These guys are going out there and like the body of work.
yeah,
Wrestler of the decade is well deserved.
we got to meet so many guys. Like I said, Omega, the trilogy with Okada, and that was beautiful. It's
Hmm.
45 minutes, 60 minutes, 45 minutes again, and then finally Kenny is able to hit the one with Angel. He becomes the New Japan World Champion, and then on top of that, we get to see the inclusion of a WWE guy that will pretty much make history by getting himself into New Japan. That is Chris Jericho,
Yep.
and he
And
gets
so
the
yeah,
match.
so yeah, New Japan definitely with these past 10 years, their stock has skyrocketed too.
Oh yeah, like because nowadays our even the American audience are looking forward for Wrestle Kingdom.
Hmm.
So and we're going to be news for all of you guys. We're going to be covering Wrestle Kingdom both days. We're going to be 2 days of both wrestling, and it's going to be great. And there were guys like you, for example, you say like Kota Ibushi, Kota
Oh
Ibushi,
yeah, that's what I
Kushida
mean. Like
came out
yeah,
from there.
there's so
So
many good matches in Wrestle Kingdom, and they're just getting better and better. They're just New
yeah,
Japan is, like same thing with NXT. They're just they had a great decade, and they're a legit promotion. You could argue that they're number one.
oh yeah,
I
oh
mean,
yeah.
I think they lost when they lost all of the elite. That hurt them. That's why I think they're trying to work a deal again because
Because
they're
they
like,
need it.
yeah,
They
because
need it.
they. Yeah,
They need it. Yeah.
at least they need them. I don't think they lost any Japanese audience, but I think they lost a lot of American audience.
Yeah, to the point that like I feel that like we were talking about this because Jean Paul and I are always talking about what are we gonna do next? What are we gonna do? I think they're gonna lose the deal that they have with Access TV.
Yeah.
So that's something that is gonna hurt them a little bit. We're gonna see how they do to rebound themselves. So
Mm.
now, but I want to say like this time, New Japan is also like a source of a different alternatives, and that is something that maybe the decade ago we didn't have that. We only knew
Exactly.
either WWE or Impact. But Impact, we knew that like if it wasn't for Samoa Joe, for Kurt Angle, for AJ Styles, it was an alternative, but it wasn't as consolidated. Like for example,
Yeah.
New Japan is. So John
Exactly. Like
Paul, talk to me a little bit about the women's evolution. That is a big thing that happened in this decade. That for women going to the first years of the 2010s, we get to see women's matches a minute, 2 minute long. Very like story. Kind of comical. The women were not taken seriously until AJ Lee cuts a promo, and she says, "You know what? I'm the world champion. I've been busting my ass. I've been learning my craft. The women deserves a chance." And went to see Nikki Bella, Brie Bella, actually given more time. And then we get to see the match at NXT Takeover, like you said, NXT Takeover Brooklyn. Bailey and Sasha Banks tearing the house down, and the force women are born: Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and these two girls. How this decade influence
And that's another
us?
thing. Look what you just said. It birthed like AJ Lee kind of started it, and then Paige was there. Paige gets called up. She beats AJ Lee, and it's like the
Yep,
passing of the guard. But it's like it all stems from NXT. Paige, the Horsewomen, take nothing away from AJ Lee, but that's really what jump started it because then you get Charlotte. She gets called up. She gets in these feuds, and then unfortunately, it was still there and it was still legit, but we unfortunately saw Becky or Sasha and Charlotte go back and forth. They really didn't do too much with Becky early on. She was kind of like an afterthought, and then Bailey, she was down in NXT for a little bit longer, but eventually when you get called up, like some of the women were used correctly, but they're all just so talented and they all just stem from NXT, and I think it definitely we talk like last year and stuff and the year before it got the women, it was main eventing the shows. So the evolution was going. Unfortunately, they just kind of stank it up a little bit with Stephanie McMahon coming out every week and, oh, this is the first time ever, the first time Hell in a Cell, the first time Elimination Chamber, first time Royal Rumble. Like, yeah, we know it's the first time and it's okay to say that, but don't beat it into the ground where like we're sick of it and we don't even want to see it. But like Evolution was legit. It was, it was a decent show. There were some things I wish were different. Like I wish the Mae Young Classic final match wasn't like 7 minutes. I wish it was like 15, 20 minutes like it deserved. But, there were some legit matches on that card.
That is something. Now you're bringing up, see, another thing to talk about. Mae Young Classic. WWE went to like
Mm-hmm.
different routes now, different avenues. They search
Yeah.
new ideas. Mae Young Classic featuring all kind of women.
Yeah.
That's how we got to see Tony Storm, Io Shirai, Kairi Sane, Rhea
And I would
Ripley.
say that's all NXT. Like that's all to me is like in the NXT bubble. The Cruiserweight Classic as well. The birth of NXT UK. That's all, and the Mae Young Classic. That's all in like Triple H's little bubble. Because Vince McMahon's not going out there saying, "Oh, I want Jordan Grace and I want Tessa Blanchard or I want all these women who he picks: Kairi Sane, Io Shirai, Tony Storm, Rhea Ripley, Tegan Nox." Like he's not picking all these women to be in this Mae Young Classic. This is Triple H and this is his team, his scouts, and all his guys and women going out there and finding these people. So it's Triple H is like the Godfather and like the one
He's the
who made.
mastermind.
Yeah,
He's the
he's the
mastermind of all
mastermind
this.
who made 2019. Or not 2019. The 2010 to 2019 so legit.
Oh yeah, like you said, like women have had the best decade in wrestling ever.
Hmm. Yeah,
Just because like
I'm not
now,
too, and we're not too familiar with it, but we know, there's so many good women come from the Stardom promotion in Japan,
yeah.
and so that is, real big and real popular. So like that's another thing that's only growing with more popularity each year. There's rumors that New Japan and Stardom are gonna, well, there's going to be, I think, a Stardom match at Wrestle Kingdom.
See, that's different. And
I
in
think so.
breaking
They're going
ground.
to do that, and then they might try to do a partnership. So that's another thing where it's like that promotion's only getting bigger. So it's like this whole decade has really been good for like the evolution of women's wrestling, not just in WWE but all over.
To the point that Jean Paul, right now, we're gonna say that like a woman is main eventing at Impact,
Hmm.
Hard to Kill. She's gonna go against
Yeah,
Tammy Callahan for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship, and that woman is Tessa Blanchard. So you see how women have been able to relaunch themselves,
yeah,
revamp in a
yeah.
way that like they're not considered, just like hot women, nice
Hmm.
body. You don't know what you're doing in the
Yeah.
ring. They're like looking at just
Now we're like, oh, they're like we
superstars,
watch.
that
Yeah,
athletes.
we watched the match for the match qual. We watched the match the same way we would watch Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect.
Exactly. We want you.
Yeah.
We watch like Sasha and Bailey, not because they're hot, not because they're good looking, not because of whatever. We watch because they know where they're going to put a great show.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
and that's why, and to the point that like again, WrestleMania was main evented by three women in the first time ever. And again, I will say the influence of Ronda Rousey. What do you think?
And the yeah, I want to say just the one thing too about like and the promos. How serious are these promos by some of these women? It's not just like you have like you said back in the Divas day where they were just like, oh, I'm hotter than you and this and that, and they are like, oh, we're gonna have a bra and panties match, and it's like to me that's like okay, like if you like that, like whatever, it is what it is, but it doesn't belong on the wrestling show.
Yes.
That belongs on. That's like if you want to have that on a bonus feature on the DVD, go right ahead. But to me, I watch a wrestling show for wrestling. If I want to watch that, I'll watch that later. You know what I'm saying?
There's other
Yeah,
websites for that.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
there's other
But
websites for that. So
so it's like the women they were just portrayed so legit, and it's great to see. Like not only is there in ring work, they're letting them go and do what they want, but just the promos and they're being portrayed exactly like the men in some
yeah,
cases.
going along that idea, Jean Paul, what do you think is like Ronda Rousey's effect?
Oh, she was
What
the
is
same. Yeah, she was the same thing as like if Tessa Blanchard wins the heavyweight championship in Impact. She's one of those things when WWE signed, it's like you are trying to do the one thing to get as many eyes on your product as possible. Ronda Rousey has been a WWE fan for a long time. When they brought her in for that Mania where she was with The Rock, that was like a planting the seeds. And that's a thing that WWE followed through with it because one, they saw the money. They saw, oh, that's going to be big money, big draw, which, hey, they run a business. I respect that. But also, they knew Ronda was a fan. They knew she was going to put in the work. She's legit. And I think they got everything they wanted out of her. And I really think she's going to come back and, going into this next decade, she's going to be legit. But she did so much for the women's division, just drawing eyes because people are like, oh, Ronda's legit. Because there's lots of people I'm sure out there who didn't even watch the women's wrestling because they just thought of the bra and panty days. They were like,
They
yeah,
were
whatever.
they
But when you
always
think,
thought about the bathroom break, like you said,
yeah,
it was the women's match.
but when they're like, oh, Ronda, like, well, like, she's legit. Like, she kicks people's asses. She tears people's arms off. I want to see this. And then
Oh
you
yeah,
watch it.
I think that's the main that summarizes like her goal, her whole effect. You know
Mm-hmm.
the repercussions of what she did for the women's and to consolidate the whole idea of the women's evolution. And then, like I said, like you just mentioned, it translates in other promotions also. Now, New Japan collaborated with Stardom, like
Mm-hmm.
Tessa Blanchard on Impact, and then Ring of Honor, they have their own women's division. NWA have a decent women's division also in the making. So the women are given now a different kind of figure. Now they're
Yeah,
respected.
yeah, yeah.
They're
It's
considered
not. Yeah,
as good as the men,
yeah, exactly.
and
And
that's
NXT, and like we said, NXT's women's division, I would put against any of these promotions. That's
any
what I mean.
any
There's
even
just
men's
yeah,
division in the world. Any
yeah. There's
men's
so
division.
many, and that makes me think how many women back in the day were talented and were just as legit as these women, but that wasn't what the fans wanted. That wasn't what the promoters wanted, and they're like, we don't want to see you wrestle. We just want to see you, strip half naked. And they were like, no, fuck you. And they didn't do that. And it's like, that's a shame because clearly there's legit women now. So I'm sure there was legit people back then.
Oh yeah,
And
and
now it's
that's
like, it's great that this decade they're finally being given the opportunity and, they've been given like the platform to show what they're capable of.
exactly, absolutely. So now, Jean Paul, let's talk about something a little more different. Like for example, WWE not going with a big dude, muscles, all like big. Actually, drifting to the idea of giving another opportunity, give them their main roles to like the vanilla midget guys. For example, Adam Cole being the NXT champion, Finn Balor, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan. These guys that are so talented have been given their spot in the eyes of the fan.
Yeah, they have, and that's one thing that's cool. But it's always there's like an asterisk next to all that. Now, Adam Cole had a legit run, Finn Balor had a legit run, but all those legit runs. Now, obviously, Adam Cole was legit on the Indies. I'm not familiar with his matches, like hold for hold, what every outcome was, but I know he was legit. Obviously, in NXT, he's legit. Same thing with Finn Balor, but it's like as soon as they got done from NXT, Finn Balor was bullshit. And it's like CM Punk had the legit run, but then it's like, you're just gonna get your ass kicked by Ryback and like all this other bullshit, The Rock and Lesnar, and it's like all this other stuff.
Undertaker,
Yeah, Undertaker, and it's like, okay, like you treat the guy like crap instead of giving us what we wanted. Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk, and there's just so many. Like again, Daniel Bryan had a good run, but then you know, people are like, oh, was he hurt? Like, why was he gone for so long? Like, why was WWE the only doctor out there for the past how many years that wouldn't clear him when every other doctor he went to was like, nah, man, you're good. You can wrestle. So, like, there's just so much stuff that it's like, yeah, they give us what we want, but they only do it for until we shut up and then they take it away.
yeah, I will say that like at least the ideas is slowly coming together, but there's still some bits that like no, the
Because
big
like
dude muscular,
we still see Lesnar as the champion for how long? Like we got Nakamura, he was the new IC champ, but Strowman is just going to take that away. It's just like the big men still run supreme, at least in WWE.
at least in WWE. But for example, like see other
Roman
promotions.
is the big man feel, and he's gonna probably beat the Fiend. So that's another. I mean, obviously that's in the new decade, but like that's WWE. They still, in the back of their mind, they still are always gonna go back to the big men.
Yeah, I wanna agree with you. So tell me another special pay per view that you have in your head, a special moment. For example, like I will say, how about Charlotte and Ronda Rousey? That match was really good. It was different because Becky was supposed to be in the match, but
Mhm.
Charlotte takes his spot, and after the match is over, Charlotte goes nuts, and she delivers probably one of her best works.
Oh yeah, I
And
mean, just yeah, and like to go off the like Charlotte, she had legit matches and stuff. Like Asuka was probably like my highlight for the women, though. I would say for the whole deck, coming into NXT, everything she did, and then the main roster, like yeah, some of her stuff was a little bullshit, but she was legit up until that match. Oh, Charlotte at Mania, I feel,
oh
and then
yeah,
they and then they rebuilt her, with the TLC match, and then the match at the Royal Rumble, and now the Kabuki Warriors thing is like getting kind of hot. It's like okay, now they're picking up steam, but it's like her just everything in NXT was so legit.
yeah, I will say Asuka was probably like the best woman that NXT could ever like brought in. Even
Mhm.
though Shayna Baszler is as good, no one came even close to what Asuka did. The
Yeah, I would.
dominance,
Yeah,
the whole year run.
Asuka's what like I mean like Bailey and Sasha were good, but as soon as they got really good, they called up Sasha. And then Bailey was like, "Oh, okay, I'm the champion." But Bailey didn't have anyone really that legit to wrestle. She was wrestling like Carmella and Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, and it was like, okay, how legit are these matches really? And then Asuka came in, and then that's when you got to see the likes of like Ember Moon and people like that. So like Asuka was the first one I felt when she beat Bailey. It was like that was it. That's when the NXT women's division really started to get on the map because those four horsewomen like they as soon as they became really good, they called them up to the main roster.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
they came from NXT, but they didn't do much in NXT. At least besides Bailey and Sasha having the match at I think Brooklyn, and I think they had one at Philadelphia or some. I know they had two matches. They had
Sasha
the
and Bailey.
yeah, they had the Iron Woman match, and then they had just a normal
Yeah, they
match.
have the Iron Woman and then the one in Brooklyn. Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was Philadelphia. Yes. Well, I think that also these women have, yeah, like we mentioned about the women's evolution and everything. They were able to give us a different perspective of what women wrestlers are. So
Mhm.
now let's talk about the tag teams. You were saying to me that like the best tag team of this whole decade. You were talking about the Young Bucks,
Yeah,
and I
that's
will agree with you. These guys, no one has can even come close to the amount of work that they could put out in these
I
10
would
years.
say, yeah, I would say the Young Bucks, and also another tag. Just to focus on the Young Bucks here, quick. Just everything that they've done, just every promotion they go to, they put someone over, they create another star. Even if the Young Bucks still win, another star is born just by being in the ring with them. They're great. They're a big money draw. They're great wrestling minds with booking and helping talent get over and everything, and they definitely deserve to be tag team of the decade and just everything they've done. But also the Hardys, when they
Oh
left
yeah,
WWE, everything that they've done, the whole broken gimmick, Brother Nero, everything like that is still legit.
that is a beautiful point that you're bringing up because like the fact that Matt Hardy was able to reinvent himself to that level,
Hmm.
to completely walk away from the idea of the Hardy Boys, to completely walk away the idea of Matt Hardy, the singles guy, that it was good enough to be a mid card guy, but never again be main event player. Goes to the broken thing. The broken thing actually comes out. Everybody falls in love with it because he completely created a new character of himself.
Hmm.
And then he actually creates a character for Jeff in Brother Nero, and then the type of matches that came out of that, the whole delete, obsolete, chance, the final deletion, the Hardy compound, and all of that. Like that was a really good moment for wrestling also, and I think they make kind of like a mistake or like when they go to WWE again because see they were never able to reach those heights
No, that's
that they
like
kind of
it
achieved.
was a great moment and a great pop, but then it was like okay, how's WWE? It was again like that's what when you said earlier how WWE gives the small guys the chance. It's the same thing. It's like oh we got our moment, but then the scariest thing is moving forward because it's like what's WWE going to do moving forward? And usually more times than not they ruin it moving forward, and that's what they did with the Hardys.
And they did, man. They did the Hardys, and hopefully now that Matt's contract is expiring, he can actually go back to being broken because he's been
Mhm.
teasing that. You've been promoting the show on the Facebook page also, and he's been teasing that gimmick to come back. And like we said in our AEW review, If he brings that to AEW, I think that's a really good way to counterattack to whatever they're doing on NXT. Because
Yeah,
NXT, is getting big, but like AEW, if they bring
yeah.
the
Because
New
like you
Japan
said,
Star,
imagine if you have Matt Hardy and his whole compound and his family, and eventually bring Jeff over. Time the storyline that you can have Jeff debut right in the middle of it against the Dark Order.
yeah,
Because Matt Hardy would definitely be the face to go against the heel of the Dark Order.
and that's what I mean. Like they
That would
could
be
do
so
so many things.
legit.
Imagine the final deletion, Lucha Bros against the Hardys,
Mm-hmm.
or for example, like like Jericho against Hardy Compound against Matt Jericho, Le Champion, or John Moxley. You could do so many things, and I think that's what
Exactly.
Matt wants. Maybe he feels that he has 1 or 2 years left in his tank, and that he wants to end, his career on a really high note. And I feel AEW is the place to go. So,
Yeah,
John Paul, yeah, go ahead,
I was
finish
gonna
the
say,
thought.
but yeah, but just like everything, because you're talking for the future, but like this is all just what he's created since leaving WWE, and just throughout this whole decade, the Hardys. I think they held the tag team belts everywhere they went. Ring of Honor, Impact,
Triple A,
yeah, AAA, New Japan. I think they held them, and I think they won
yeah,
those belts. Like
yeah,
obviously WWE, they won them everywhere.
yeah. So yeah, if there's ever a doubt that like the Hardys probably are one of the best, if not the best tag team of all time, it will be them.
I would
But
say I would say if we're gonna say that, my pick is probably the Hardys. I
it
would
will
say
be
they're probably the best of
You
all
will be,
time.
you could be talking about in the same category as the Dudley Boys, but the
Hmm.
Dudleys were never in Japan or anything like that.
Yeah, and the
But
Dudleys, yeah, and because Bubba Ray's doing like his single stuff, so
yeah, and
then
also like you
yeah,
said, but going about the Young Bucks, these guys did something that not anybody will be able to do is take a leap of faith, join with the Holy Lead with Kenny Omega, Cody, and they gave us another option to what we regularly see on TV, and this is AEW. We love AEW, like you said. There's a lot of things that need to be changed, a lot of things that would like us to be better, but at least they gave us an option. And to the point that like the AEW effect is still here and is still having some things going on, and that's why NXT is on Wednesdays now, and on the USA Network. So, Jean Paul, any closing thoughts about this? Anything about the whole decade? Anything that you would like to see on the 2020?
Mike. There's a lot. The start of the decade. Wrestling. Like I said, WWE was there was legit things going on, but it started. It reached its peak. I mean, the peak was before, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, but it was still pretty legit. And then it started to go down. And I feel like with Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, they had it. That was their chance. It was like we found two blue chip players, two diamond in the roughs, and we can. This is what we can build, and we can be super legit. And they were like, "Nah, we want to go for John Cena, Brock Lesnar, guys like that. That's who we want to push, whatever. Triple H, Roman Reigns." And it's like, that's what you did. So unfortunately, it's like, but I feel like WWE, like they had the ups and downs, but like we said, the growth of New Japan, they got so much better. You had these really established stars going out into the indies. Like Rey Mysterio was another one who he went into the indies, the Hardy Boys, all these guys. So they brought way more attention to the indies, and we had NXT. So there was a lot of ups, a lot of downs from the decade, but I think more ups than downs if you look at the whole wrestling world, not just WWE main roster. And I think 2020 is going to be a lot more ups than downs, even more so than this decade. A lot more ups. I think wrestling is going to start to become more popular, and I think by the time 29 rolls around, it's going to be maybe not. I don't think it'll ever be as big as 2000, but I think if the time is going to happen, it'll be this decade.
I really think so, and I think the one mean or the one channel that can help out wrestling to be popular again is Rubric. And
Oh,
so you and
absolutely.
me have a big mission to make wrestling cool again, and that's what we try
Hmm.
to do every single time we record a video. So we hope that all of you. I enjoy this conversation. I really have a lot of faith on the 2020, like you did, Jean Paul. I
Hmm.
feel that like there's so many avenues right now, so many alternatives. You don't need WWE to consider yourself a
No,
wrestling fan. You have New Japan, you have AEW, you have Impact, you have NWA,
you
you
could
have Ring
watch
of
Tuesday.
Honor.
Yeah, I mean, now that the deal's done, but unfortunately, but you could have just watched Tuesday nights and watched New Japan and Impact, and that would have been legit.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like you don't need WWE anymore, and
Yeah.
we're not saying that we hate WWE. We love the
No,
WWE,
the best night is Wednesday on the USA
but
Network.
you know what? The best thing in any single situation is have options, and
Hmm.
now it's like a buffet. You have options that you can grab, and that's what you hold on to, and then you keep eating, and then what happens? You have a good time.
You get the Otis belly.
Then you get the Otis Belly, and then we're all searching for Mandy Rose. So that's our current quest. So we want to thank everybody for watching the video. I hope you
Mhm.
can join the conversation with more comments, please. Tell us what you like, what you didn't like about either the video or the whole decade. We would love to have more conversations about this. Also, don't forget we have a ton of content for you guys. Jean Paul has a great review of Monday Night Raw. He has also the second episode of Jean Paul the Wrestling Hall, this time featuring Yushin Thunder Liger, a guy that is going to be retiring pretty soon.
Yep.
So we have that. We have also an NXT review. We have SmackDown review, and we have actually Road Break. Jean Paul and I went out of our way, and we gave the Road Break Awards for 2019.
Yep, the
So
prestigious Road Break Awards
the prestigious Road Break Award
we'll be mailing all those awards to Adam Cole and Becky Lynch and all those people later on
and
in the
all the winners.
yeah. Yeah.
That's right. We will be doing that. So we want to thank you everybody that has been joining. We really appreciate that everybody's just supporting this idea. We know there's a lot of people that try to do this, but neither one of them come close to us. So in the name of Jean Paul and myself, we promise that we're gonna have more content. We're gonna be very busy because we have Wrestle Kingdom coming. So we're gonna be covering that. And in the name of Jean Paul and myself, we would like to say, uh,
Ah, da.
uh,